This is Bold TV, an entertainment program on disability and its related issues from a gender perspective. Join us every Saturday by 10:30 a.m. on our Facebook and YouTube channels. Bold TV, beautiful, outstanding ladies with disabilities. Brought to you by Bold Hearts Initiative.
Hello and good morning, viewers. Welcome to Bold TV, beautiful, outstanding ladies with disabilities, an initiative of Bold Heart Initiative. My name is Florence Marcus. I'm a lawyer based in the FCT and I'm an amputee. I'm also a co-host on Bold TV, and it is my honor to serve as your host for today's episode. At Bold TV, we amplify the voices, rights, and lived experiences of women with disabilities, and we create conversation that inspire change, promote inclusion, and demand justice. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are addressing an issue that is often hidden, often ignored, and far too often silenced: gender-based violence against women with disabilities. Women with disabilities face multiple layers of vulnerability. They are not only at risk, we are not only at risk because we are women, but also because often society underestimates, excludes, and isolates us due to our disabilities. Violence against us may happen at home, in institutions, in workplaces, or even in the hands of caregivers, the very people that we depend on. But violence is never justified. Abuse is never acceptable, and disability must never be a barrier to justice. In today's episode, we will unpack what legally constitutes gender-based violence, how to recognize it, and most importantly, where women and girls with disabilities can go for help, protection, and legal remedies. Joining us in today's episode is a distinguished lawyer and a member of the Federation of Women Lawyers in Nigeria, FIDA, Barrister Rahila Dauda, who will help us understand the law, our rights, and the paths to justice. Stay with us as we break barriers and affirm one powerful truth: justice must be accessible to everyone, irrespective of abilities. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rahila Dauda. I am a lawyer. I work with the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA Nigeria, as a legal officer, and it's a pleasure to join you for this remarkable program. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Barrister Rahila, for joining us. What legally constitutes gender-based violence, and what forms of violence are most commonly experienced by women with disabilities?
On what legally constitutes gender-based violence, I would say GBV is a term used for any harmful act that is perpetrated against a person's will. It is harmful and it affects at least 1 in 5 Nigerian women. Now, it can happen between men or women, but mostly we see that women are the most affected. And quite sad, women with disabilities face such. Now, it can come in various forms. It could be physical, psychological, emotional, even economical. And as I earlier stated, a lot of women face this. It is deeply rooted in gender inequality, the abuse of power, and harmful norms. It's a violation of human rights, so nobody should think that gender-based violence is acceptable. Now, women and girls with disabilities face a lot of such acts of gender-based violence because they are among the most vulnerable in our society. It's quite sad that we don't protect them enough. Now, example is, I mentioned the various forms of abuse that can be perpetrated against a person. We have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act in the FCT, which is being used predominantly by the law and law enforcement agencies to in dealing with these crimes as they arises. Now, the most acts of gender-based violence perpetrated against persons, women with disabilities rather, can come in various forms. It could be physical, economic, emotional, psychological, verbal even. And this happens because a lot of things are being denied to them. They don't have access to it. Now, some of the challenges, some of the form of violence they face are inaccessible public design space, which can subdue the ability of them to live and age. Stigmatization and discrimination also is associated with them. Quite unfortunately, is the plight of the blind. Now, the blind in Nigeria are disadvantaged in terms of education, vocational training, mobility, and socio-economic activities. There's also the issue of lack of education and inadequate rehabilitation services. Women with intellectual disabilities are also faced with physical issues. For example, in some communities, it is believed that women with these disabilities have committed a spiritual crime and suffer the disability as a form of punishment by the gods. Already, this is a psychological abuse. It affects them right from the beginning because they feel they are cursed. So as they're growing up, there's this mental challenge they have. Now, they are labeled as witches and subsequently burned to death. This is from a research that was done in 2013 in a community in Ebonyi and Cross River States. Now, women with mental illness too, they are usually given a derogatory name I don't want to mention. They are survivors of rape because there's a belief that, sleeping with them brings in something and then to some men, and so they abuse them. Many of them are homeless and are seen on the street in major cities. It's quite sad. They face sexual abuse. Deaf people also, they are one of the most marginalized groups from the research that was done due to their relatively small numbers. And also, the cost incurred in meeting their needs through ensuring the provision of accessible information, such as through sign language. You find out that most of them, when they report such cases in the police station, they tend not to be heard. And in my experience, I find out that when they go to report this crime, for example, rape, to the police will say, you should even be happy that somebody even finds you worthy to sleep with you. This is very, very sad. Not only have they facing sexual abuse, psychologically it's affecting them, and also verbally, this is a verbal abuse. So it's very important that law enforcement agencies be able to, have a means of interacting with them to ensure that their needs are being taken care of. Also, we have women with albinism. They are target of sexual violence. It's quite unfortunate that there's a myth associated with that. It is that sleeping with women, having sex with women with albinism can lead to cure of HIV and AIDS. As a result, albino women survivors experience increased health complications such as STIs and post-traumatic stress. This is very, very sad. We've talked about accessibility to public facilities. Now, there is also the issue of economic abuse. which is leading me to the next question as to the forms of abuse. As to the forms of abuse, different abuse, and how persons with disabilities can be able to identify. Because I've come across so many people, women, that will tell you, oh, this is normal. My husband can beat me. My husband can beat me as a form of correction. I am the one that is to be blamed here. They don't even know about their rights. After all, the penal code, which is being used in some parts of northern Nigeria, even though some states have adopted the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, mandates in one of the sections of the penal code that a man, a husband, can actually beat his wife as a form of correction. Wow. And it's still there. It's just that we don't advocate for it to be used. It is sad. Now, I will talk about economic abuse. It's a form of abuse through that a lot of women, particularly persons with disabilities, face, and they don't even know. Now, this can happen in a way that a partner of a woman with disability will withhold her money, or say, you don't have to pay her for her wages, pay it in my bank account. She doesn't have access to her money. That is a clear violation of her right. Except if she consents. In fact, even if she consents, it's wrong. She should have. She's an adult. As long as she's above 18, she can be able to open a bank account and also transact daily. Now, it's hinder her ability, to buy things for ourselves. In fact, even in some cases, women are being denied the chance to, inherit their late spouses' properties in some parts of the country. In fact, with women with disabilities, even worse. All these are form of economic abuse. Then we also have forced marriage of a woman against her own will. It doesn't matter if she's a person with disability. It is a crime. It's a gender-based violence, and we should all speak against it. There is female genital mutilation. These are all forms of physical abuse. That is the cutting of the woman's private area. It's a crime. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 has actually criminalized that. And then there's also some other types of physical assault include hitting, slapping, shoving. These are all forms of physical assault, and there's no way a man should say he's correcting a woman, his wife, because she has done. You don't have the right to do that. It is wrong. Nobody has a right to correct another human being through beating or slapping. The law frowns against it. Now, there is psychological abuse. This can be in the form of name calling, threats of physical assault, intimidation, humiliation, forced isolation, preventing somebody from contacting his family, saying, oh, I'm the only one that have access to them. And then so many of this, it even the trauma, the way people treat persons with disability can also be a form of psychological abuse. Not having access to a public space, it affects them psychologically. The way they are being treated when they go to report a matter and they are being told, oh, you should be happy that somebody even finds you body, to even have sex with you. So all these things are crime. Then we have rape. It's a form of sexual abuse. Now, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 has broadened the definition of rape. Before now, you can only rape a woman, and then it's also only through a means. But now, a man can be raped, though it's not under our discussion today. But the channels of the rape has been expanded. It's not only through the private area. There's also through the anus, the mouth with an object, or even the nose. And he doesn't have to use, a man doesn't have to use his private parts to rape another. Even if he uses an object, it amounts to rape. And one thing I want us to note when it comes to rape is that it's non-consensual. If a woman doesn't give her consent to having sex with you, it's rape. And one thing that we should note is that a child cannot give consent. Who is a child? The Child Rights Act has defined a child to be any person below the age of 18 years. That's a child. So don't tell me that you have a girlfriend, she's 16 years old, and she has consented to having sex. No, that is rape. Any child, anybody below the age of 18 years cannot give consent. So it's a crime. Now, there's also sexual assaults. We have this, any form of unwanted sexual contact, touching that does not result in or include penetration. It will be, when you touch the person, or even making jokes that are inappropriate, you are not comfortable with it. Please, it's wrong. It's an abuse, And then, I think we touched basically on that. Then there are verbal abuse, making remarks that will, affect that person. The person is not comfortable with it. It's an abuse. Whatever it is, you don't consent to. Whatever it is that seeks to demean you, it's a form of an abuse. It's a GBV, and you have to speak out, speak up, and get help as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. So if a woman with disability experiences gender-based violence, where can she go for help, protection, and what are the legal remedies?
So when a woman with disability faces any form of gender-based violence, there are channels, there are places she can report to, apart from the nearest police station. That's the closest, and I believe most police stations have gender desk officers. So it's important a person with disability that has faced one form of violence identify a police station and also report to the gender desk office. Additionally, a person with disability can reach out to NAPTIP. NAPTIP is a National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, but is the agency that has been saddled with the responsibility to administer the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act in the FCT, but they also operate in other states. The office is located at Lucy Zone 5. There is a hotline, I think it's 080-0225-562874 or dial 627. There's also the National Human Rights Commission. It's spread all over. They have their hotline 6472. You can call them. In Abuja, they are at I think they are in Maitama in Abuja. Then we have sexual assaults referral centers. I know in Abuja we have it in Buhari General Hospital. Person with disability can report there as well. Then there's the Ministry of Women Affairs and Development, spread across it at 6 states, including the FCT. It's located at Shehu Shagari Way in Abuja. And then there is we have NGOs. There's FIDA. FIDA is spread across 36 states, including the FCT. We have 46 branches. The number is 070-8849-6115. It's a hotline you can call to report any form of violence. And then I also know that there are NGOs and there are organizations for persons with disabilities. I know of Network of Persons Living with Disabilities. I know of Inclusive Friends. I know of Jonaped. I know of Audi. It will be good if persons with disabilities identify with one of these agencies, even the National Council for Persons with Disability. All persons with disability, it will be good for them to identify with these NGOs and be part of them, because if anything happens, it will be easy for that person to report immediately and it will be taken up with urgent action. So please identify any of this NGO, and I'm sure even in this program they will share that and let them know, or let each and every person know of this NGO, so that anything that happens, we're not hoping for that, but anything can happen. It's important that you link up with them wherever you may find yourself. And then I think that is these are the basic cases that you can easily report. And even if you have any challenge, try as much as possible to speak up. Don't give up on justice. I know a lot of people are discouraged with the justice system, with the long delay in court, but just persevere.
As we conclude today's conversation, one message remains clear. Gender-based violence is a violation of human rights, and women with disabilities have the same rights, safety, dignity, and justice as everyone else. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please know that help is available. Speak out, reach out, report, seek support from trusted organizations. The legal aid services, we have legal aid offices all over Nigeria. We have the Civil Defense Corps, they're also doing a lot. Go to the appropriate authorities. Don't waste time. In fact, go to the hospital immediately in case of rape. Go to the hospital first. Let's silence perpetrators. Awareness, is very important, because awareness protects the survivors. So let's continue to build communities that believe, support, and protect women with disabilities. Justice should never be out of reach. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and stay safe. We always come your way every Saturday at 10 a.m. Look forward to joining you next week. Thank you.